League of Legends is a very dynamic game and is subject to change at any one time. Things such as items, champions, and general game balance can all be adjusted by Riot to make the game more enjoyable for the majority of players. So please be aware, this guide may not still be applicable depending on the times. Welcome to Champion Crash Course featuring Anivia, the Cryo Phoenix.
Laying an egg isn't as easy as it looks.
Anivia is a squishy but powerful bird that specialises in locking down targets and dealing burst or sustained damage. She is an ability power champion who is best suited to be played in the mid lane. She has an insanely low pick rate, which I assume spikes up when Froggen plays her, and a very average win rate. And that is very understandable as she currently doesn't really fit the meta game at all, but that doesn't mean she's not fun to play. Anivia uses mana as her resource, and you generally shouldn't run out of mana until level 6, but we'll get into how to manage your mana and all that stuff later on. Anivia currently costs 3,150 IP, or 790 RP, and has 6 skins, including her classic skin. Her skins are Team Spirit Anivia, which is unavailable, Bird of Prey Anivia, which is 520 RP, Noxus Hunter Anivia, which is also 520 RP, Hextech Anivia, which will cost you 750 RP, and Black Frost Anivia, which will cost you a whopping 1,820 RP. If you want to go for the whole haul, then go for Black Frost Anivia, as it literally gives Anivia a visual upgrade when you use the skin. However, it does cost quite a lot. Although I wouldn't really recommend any of the other skins, as in my opinion they're all pretty shit. I personally prefer Classic Anivia myself. Anivia's listed difficulty is an 8. I highly disagree with this one. Anivia's abilities have a clunky feel to them, and Anivia herself has some of the lowest base stats in the game. But low stats and clunky abilities don't inherently mean she's hard to play. After a few games you'll get used to how she feels very quickly, and you'll learn the little intricacies that make Anivia's kit so special. Anivia just struggles in the mobility department, but her abilities help her with that issue if used properly. I'd say she's about a 5 if you have even the slightest bit of experience with champions who don't have a dash, blink or a jump ability. If you're looking to fit Anivia into a team composition, then you'll want people with good AoE spells and good kiting potential. So people such as Jarvan, Kennen, Amumu and Galio thrive when Anivia is nearby. That's just to name a few. For some of the spells I'd highly suggest Ignite and Flash. However, Anivia can teleport while she's in her egg form, which can save your life in some situations, but that is mainly for the style points. If you're up against an assassin, it's beneficial to take Exhaust to limit their potential. For runes, you should go for Magic Pen Marks, Health per level seals or Armor per level seals, Magic Resist per level glyphs and AP Quints. I go for per level because Anivia's stats by themselves don't really aid her as she levels, so these runes can help assist in the defense department. For Masteries, I'd suggest 2190, going for all the AP buffs in the offensive tree, and buffs to either Magic Resist or Armor depending on the matchup in the defensive tree. Anivia's passive is Eggnivia, aka Rebirth. Upon taking fatal damage, otherwise known as being killed, Anivia transforms into Eggnivia for 6 seconds. Eggnivia gains 100% of her health back and has her Armor and Magic Resist modified by -40 at level 1, -25 at level 5, -10 at level 8, +5 at level 12, and +20 at level 15. Eggnivia can't move in this state, and if not killed whilst in egg mode, she will revive with the health the egg has. I would highly recommend you don't be aggressive with Anivia early on, due to the -40 armor and magic resist. You can literally be one-shotted by anyone with those stats. This has a static cooldown of 240 seconds, or 4 minutes. Anivia's Q is Flash Frost. Anivia sends out a straight line skill shot that slows all enemies in its path by 20%. At the end of its flight, it will burst and stun anything it hits for 1 second. This can be reactivated again by pressing Q whenever the ice is in the desired location. This spell will deal 60, 90, 120, 150 and 180 magic damage plus 50% of total ability power to all enemies caught in the flight path, and the damage is doubled if the enemy is hit with the ice ball and then stunned. Enemies hit will have something known as being chilled. This spell will cost 80, 90, 100, 110 and 120 mana, and its cooldown is 12, 11, 10, 9 and 8 seconds at ranks 1 through 5. You should take a point in this early on for its stun, but you should max its second. This can obviously be blocked by Morgana's Black Shield and Spell Shield. However, there is a fancy trick you can pull with this. You can let the ice pop the Spell Shield and then reactivate it to stun. This does require some practice however. The lowest possible cooldown for this spell is 4.8 seconds. Her W is Crystallize, otherwise known as the Wall. Anivia summons a wall of ice that blocks everyone and everything off. Some champions can jump over it or through it, however it can be flashed over, so keep that in mind. This gets bigger with rank, so at rank 1 it's pretty tiny, but at rank 5 it's pretty huge, and can block off almost all of the jungle. This will cost 70 mana at all ranks and its cooldown is 25 seconds at all ranks. So you're best off taking a point in this early on to slow down your opponent and the junglers if they decide to gank, but don't max it until last. The lowest possible cooldown for this spell is 15 seconds. Her E is Frostbite. Anivia sends forth a spear of ice that deals 55, 85, 115, 145 and 175 magic damage, plus 50% of total ability power. This deals double damage if an enemy is chilled, and this will cost 50, 60, 70, 80 and 90 mana, and its cooldown is 5 seconds at all ranks. This spell can be a little clunky since Anivia has to stop to cast it, and unless you're fairly close it will cancel the animation if the enemy runs out of range or you move. This can sometimes slow you down when you're trying to cast it on someone, but this is where your other abilities come into play. The lowest possible cooldown for this spell is 3 seconds. Her ultimate is Glacial Storm. Anivia calls down a storm in a nearby area that slows enemies' movement and attack speed by 20%. This will also deal 80, 120, and 160 plus 25% of total ability power to every enemy within it. Enemies are also chilled whilst inside, making it synergize perfectly with her E. This will cost 70 mana initially to cast, but it will drain 40, 50 and 60 mana per second whilst the ult is out, and its cooldown is 6 seconds at all ranks. Max this when it becomes available of course, as this can do some serious damage if an enemy is stuck inside. You just gotta be aware of your mana as it can quickly drain away throughout long fights. The lowest possible cooldown for this spell is 3.6 seconds. Anivia should really be built with a focus on a good offense as well as a strong defense. To start the match you can start with a Doran's Ring, pots and a Trinket Ward. However, if you feel you're going to get poked down, then you should start with a Crystalline Flask. For the booties, I would suggest Soak Shoes. Since you're an AP carry, that's like the standard for booties. Whenever you can, I'd suggest you get a Tear of the Goddess. Anivia has a cheeky little way to charge this by placing her ult down in the base. You can do this while you're buying something just to get a few extra stacks whilst you're in there. When this is upgraded to a Seraph's Embrace, it will make you way more powerful, and you'll be able to shield yourself from incoming damage if you have the mana for it. Obviously, you'll want a death cap. I mean, that's just standard. Azonia's is perfect for Anivia, as if she gets jumped by enemies, which is going to be most likely the case, you can easily put your ultimate on yourself and golden pose so they can't touch you. And they'll also be damaged in the process. When it comes to penetration, then you'll need to know exactly what you're up against. In a lot of cases with Anivia, it can be quite beneficial to buy a Liandry's Torment due to how easy it can be to slow enemies down and damage them. Liandry's deals double damage if an enemy is slowed. An Abyssal Scepter is something I tend to recommend all the time on everyone, but it's seriously a great item. It buffs your defenses whilst removing theirs, and it also gives you a lot of AP. You cannot ask for a better item. Some alternative things to buy would be a Rylai's Crystal Scepter, and that can be great for slowing enemies down and the health it gives you, but honestly I wouldn't really recommend it because your slow is already good, and because your spells are AoE you don't actually slow by that much. So it's good in some cases, but I wouldn't usually suggest it unless you really need it. If you find you're running low on health in a lot of the fights, then a Will of the Ancients can be really good, especially on her E when double damage is dealt. A Rod of Ages is also pretty good as it gives health, mana and ability power, which is perfect for Anivia. You could also pick up an Athene's if you really need the mana regen and the cooldown reduction. Both are crucial stats on Anivia. Something weird you could also build would be a Frozen Heart. I know this sounds dumb, but let me put this idea forward. Her ultimate slows movement speed and attack speed by 20%. Frozen Heart decreases enemy attack speed by 15%. That's a 35% attack speed slow on anyone you catch. On an AD carry, that is almost a snail's pace. Obviously a tank should probably pick this up, but if they don't have it for some reason, be a swag lord and get this. Plus, it's icy, so if people complain, just tell them where to stick it. I play Anivia as a jungler, so you'll want to start off at the blue buff. The blue buff does less damage than the red buff, and this is because red buff actually has red buff, therefore it deals extra damage. You should start with your wall so you can block off the blue from hitting you, and you can also get some extra damage in whilst taking none in return. Nah, but seriously, I play everyone in mid, and thankfully Anivia is designed for it, so play a mid. As I've mentioned, Anivia's early game is fairly weak, so try to play more on the safe side. You could possibly pull something off if you land a stun or if your jungler ganks your lane, but if you can't get that to happen, then just try and last hit near your turret. If you're getting ganked, then the easiest thing to do would be put your wall up, and hopefully they can't jump the wall in any way, and you can just fly off towards your turret. Or you could just be an absolute legend and kill the guy. A method to land an easy-ish stun will be to wall the opponent off, and when they try and walk around it, you can predict where they're going to be. Just aim it to the side of the wall that they're going to run to. Speaking of the wall, you can do all sorts of tricks with it. You can lock people into Baron and Dragon Pit, you can wedge people into walls, and you can even interrupt recalls, teleports, and channeled spells, just to name a few. Once you hit 6, you have very easy wave clear, and this makes it very hard for enemies to push you up to the turret and deny farm. This is also where you get your kill potential. Once you hit higher levels, your egg can save your life in some situations, especially if your enemy uses everything on you and then you go into egg. Just remember though, it takes 6 seconds to come out of it, and that is a very long time. Anivia isn't particularly good at roaming, especially early on, but if there are enemies in your jungle, then you can easily do something about that. Anivia thrives in jungle fights, as she can split the enemy off, which can sometimes force people out of a fight, or she can even force people into the fight. You can also just place your ult down and people have to stand on it, making it very unfavourable for the enemy team to want to be there. When it comes to the late game, you'll want to either just push the waves out with your team and disrupt the enemies, or you can just try and bait a Baron fight. Anivia's Baron dance is fantastic. Just try not to get stunned or removed from your ult in any way, as it's crucial to keep your ult going to deal tons of damage. Anivia is exceptionally squishy early on. If you can avoid her stun and catch her off guard, then killing her is a breeze. Remember that her egg at low levels gives her minus stats to her magic resist and armor, making it very easy to scramble. Once the egg is on cooldown, she can no longer be aggressive. This gives you dominance over her if you play it well. It's harder for Anivia to fight in open areas or from far away, so try to poke her down or fight in a lane so that her abilities have a much higher chance of missing. Consider saving your flash or your jump ability for when she walls you off, as it has a fairly high cooldown, and if she sees you can just get over the thing constantly, she'll probably stop using it in most cases. Banshee's Veil and Merc Treads are great items against Anivia. However, like I've mentioned in the abilities section, if you use the little trick with her Q, you can pop Banshees and then still stun. Let's just hope the Anivia that you're against hasn't seen this guide. However, after you beat her, then send her this video. Anivia doesn't specifically counter anyone, but she can do well against people such as Karthus, since he is very immobile and will have a hard time dodging your stun. And most Karthuses don't build much defense, so he can be easily killed with your combo. And if he uses his ult after he's died so you can't actually stop it, you can just egg and live another day. Karthus' ultimate also has a very high cooldown, and you may even have your egg back by the time he uses it again. Rise is fairly weak against Anivia due to his spells requiring him to get really close. Anivia can simply wall him away to prevent any rushes that Rise may do, and she can also beat him down early on due to his lack of mobility. Just be careful of Rise's late game. Zed can struggle against a good Anivia. If Zed decides to jump onto Anivia, then she can easily just place her ultimate on herself, and right when Zed lands, she can Q. This can allow for a very favourable trade. However, the laning phase can be tricky as Zed can move around freely with his shadow and can dodge the stun with his ultimate, so save your abilities for the right moment. Vel'Koz can prove to be an easy lane against Anivia, as he's a very slow champion and Anivia has two ways to stop his ultimate. They both will deal decent damage to each other, however Anivia has the potential to deal so much more damage to him due to her stun, ultimate and E combo being so powerful together. Vel'Koz requires a lot of abilities to hit for him to maximize his damage, but then again, who the hell plays Vel'Koz? Sadly, Anivia can be countered by a lot of champions, especially the more mobile ones, or the ones who can outrange her. People such as Gragas can do well, as his poke is much easier to hit, and he has a knockback / stun that can cancel her ult. He can also belly slam through her wall and survive throughout most of her damage in all stages of the game. Diana is a good pick against Anivia due to Diana having good reliable poke, a shield to defend herself, and once she hits 6, she can burst Anivia down and survive all of her attacks. She can also pull her egg back just a little bit if she eggs under tower. Just be careful of being stunned whilst you dash in. Ziggs can poke Anivia down constantly and can almost always land his spells on her for free. He can also jump over her wall and get out of her ult with his satchel. His ult is almost always guaranteed to hit, unless she flashes away of course. Syndra is a very good choice as she has much easier harass with her Q. She can stun or knock Anivia out of her ult, she can throw stuff over Anivia's wall, and she can do more damage with her ult if itemized properly. And the counter crown goes to Fizz. Fizz is a great pick when against Anivia. He can troll pole, otherwise known as his E, playful / trickster, to avoid her stun, and he can jump over her wall with it too. He can out damage her in almost every stage of the game, if not fed of course, and his shark can make things much easier for Fizz to kill her. The perfect choice if you have a little bit of experience on him. Anivia's wall gives vision in its area. This can be useful to scout bushes and such, and this can be done with relative safety due to the fact there's a massive wall of ice in the bush. Anivia's ultimate can be stopped by stuns, suppression, silence, polymorph and knockups. However, taunts and fears won't stop it. Me referring to Anivia as Eggnivia when she turns into an egg isn't just some witty joke that I've come up with. It actually says Eggnivia if you type in the chat or do something such as a ping whilst in egg mode. Anivia's wall can stop recalls, teleports and channeled spells. This can also stop your allies recalling, teleporting or using their channeled spell. As always though guys, I like to give you the base stats for everyone, as this can sometimes be the difference between life and death in some situations. At level 1 her stats will be 420 health, scaling at 70 per level, 5 health regen per 5, scaling at 0.55 per level, 51 attack damage, scaling at 3.2 per level, 0.63 attack speed, scaling at 1.68% per level, 325 movement speed, 310 mana, scaling at 53 per level, 8 mana regen per 5, scaling at 0.6 per level, 19 armor, scaling at 4 per level, and 30 magic resist, which doesn't scale at all. So at level 18 her stats will be 1610 health, 15 health regen per 5, 106 attack damage, 0.80 attack speed, 1211 mana, 18 mana regen per 5, 87 armor, and still 30 magic resist. As always though guys, I'd recommend you practice in normal games or in custom games with friends. Anivia has a lot of potential to put out some serious damage if you know how to play her. She is a bit finicky, but I can't really explain controls, you have to experience them. I'd suggest you try her out, if not for the team fighting potential, then purely just for her troll potential. Thank you so much for watching, I hope this guide has helped in some way. If it has, please be sure to give it a like and support both me and the series. If you have anything else you'd like to add, or just want to drop some knowledge on Fools, be sure to leave that stuff in the comments. Also, you could share this video with your friends or with people who you think are total noobs. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys later. Peace!